Broncos country, what is going on? Your Denver Broncos have the best record in the NFL after a nice comeback victory against the Green Bay Packers yesterday. Smaller or maybe more intimate show tonight. We don't have the full cast, but Jeremy is here to talk about it. Let me make sure I get our names up here. We got to have that. Sorry about that. But before we dive in, guys, get in here, like, subscribe, join the chat. We want to make this show special. We already got Mike in here. I know he is absolutely pumped up about this team. Shout out to Kalshi. We'll take a look at the odds for Jacksonville and Denver coming up, but I have placed some money on that. So use the promo code DTB, get a 10 for 10 match when you deposit 10. It's going to be awesome. But sorry for my long-winded intro, Jeremy. Dude, how are you doing tonight? How are you feeling after that victory against the Packers?
Dude, fantastic. I mean, the real ones, like I said yesterday, like that was a good one for the non-believers. A lot of the people that were like, I don't know about Bo Nix. I don't know about this offense. I don't know if they could. That was a good game for them. The people that have been riding all year, they already knew what we could do. But that was a nice display. Going through adversity, having being down 9, phantom PI calls, whatever, taking touchdowns off the board, just more stuff that you have to overcome. And this team is built for it. I mean, we've been doing it all year. We're not afraid of any challenges. And like I said in my thumbnail, this team's fearless. Bo Nix is fearless. So yeah, riding high, feeling great.
And man, I think when you rewind back to the draft in 2024, I mean, how could you have not seen that Bo Nix was better than these dudes drafted ahead of him because of his fearlessness, man? We've seen other quarterbacks really falter down the stretch or, in difficult moments or have been very inconsistent. But Bo Nix, I mean, he's pretty much, man, when the game has been on the line, he has been absolute money so far throughout his career. So this, man, it was so great to see the style in which we won. The fact that, man, we've been looking for that, that full complete game from the offense from the first quarter on. Actually, did we score in the first quarter? I'm trying to remember.
I can't remember when we scored our first touchdown. It feels like it was in the second quarter because we had a couple of drives that were out and they scored 2 field goals that were long drives. So it was probably in the second quarter.
Second quarter. Nonetheless, man, it just felt like we put together a much better, offensive output throughout the entire game. I mean, we were driving that ball on the first drive. If Harvey doesn't fumble it, man, I'm feeling pretty good that we score on that drive, Yep. We gave them 3 points, and we were still able to not only get the victory, but cover significantly as well. So that, man, it was fantastic to see. Have you noticed, Jeremy? I haven't paid too much attention today, but what have the outside people of Broncos country been saying about Bo Nix today?
I think, it's been like, well, if he can play like this, it's like, yeah, well, he's just won 11 straight. So if he can play the way he's played the last 11 games, what do you mean? It's not just, he didn't just start playing well 2 weeks ago, but that's like the narrative is he just now is figuring it out. Just now we somehow won 8 in a row before that, but like just recently Bo's figuring it out. So yeah, that's kind of the narrative is just like, if Bo can play like this, they can, go to the Super Bowl. They can do big things. And it's like, yeah, we've already known that.
Yeah. I was listening to Colin Cowherd and I feel like he has, he's always been obviously a big Sean Payton fan, but
yeah,
said those things about Bo Nix like a couple months ago or whatever after the Raiders game. And, he's kind of been hesitant, but he definitely feels as if, and I feel like it's confirmed at this point. I can understand a little bit of an argument for Buffalo, but I mean, Denver's the best team in the AFC. And if they have home field advantage, he's saying that they should be able to go to the Super Bowl. I mean, you got to win 2 games to get to the Super Bowl. And if we lock up that 1 seed, man, I feel so good about our ability to win at home. And I don't want to get too caught up in all that because we still got to talk about the game. But it's hard for me to see, Jeremy, as long as this team comes in prepared, it's it's hard for them. It's hard for me to see them not like, even if they get punched, man, not countering with a couple of their own shots as well and getting the job done.
Yeah, no, this team is comfortable being uncomfortable. They're comfortable with being behind, even in the fourth quarter. It's like they have that belief that we're going to get it done. You could tell the chemistry of this team. I don't know if you caught the mic'd up segment after
Mm,
last week's game,
no.
but they mic'd up Sean, Bo, and Benito. And I would recommend checking that out because there was, I mean, the one that had kind of circulated the most was just like on the sideline right before the game started. Sean leaned over to Court, who was standing next to Bo, and he said, "Hey, we're going to try to get you the ball right off the bat, like we always do sometimes." And he goes, "You can't," and then Court goes, "You can't always do something sometimes." And then he like taps Bo just like catching him as like, that's like a, you know, an oxymoron. Like you can't, that statement's illogical or whatever, but he just taps Bo and they both start laughing. And then Sean has a big smile about it. And then Bo goes, "Got him." And then it's just like, you could just tell, like, it's like a family that like loves each other. Even when Bandy scored yesterday, and he spiked the ball and he's all like celebrating, whatever. Both Bo and Court sprinted to the ball to go make sure that he got to keep that ball. Like their heads were like, we're so excited for this guy, not for the fact that we just got a touchdown and now we have the lead or whatever. It was, this team is super tight. And that, I mean, Bandy's a practice squatter all year, and you could just tell how excited all the offense was for him. And
Mm,
you know, there's a lot of people, I think, in the NFL, a lot of different teams and different seasons and all that, where people kind of business as usual. You just go into work, you do your stuff, and you go home. But like this team, like I really give Sean a lot of credit. And I think that's part of his genius is like those extra extended road trips that we're going to do in West Virginia, the whatever. We're going to go to London early. We're going to do all these things. This team is super, super tight. They play for each other, but bigger than all of that is they have a belief in each other that they're going to make the plays that
mhm.
need to be made. And I think that's overcomes so much. And other teams just don't simply have that.
Yeah. And it's why, man, it's why I feel like we got a legitimate shot. Who would have
Oh,
thought, man,
100%.
at the beginning of the season to win the Super Bowl? When we started, we're like, man, this team might lack some killer instinct. I can't believe we were talking about this because ever since that Chargers loss, I mean, uh, they haven't made an excuse come the fourth quarter. They have finished every single game, no matter what the score differential was going into the fourth quarter. And obviously, Jeremy, your memory is a little bit better there in like 97, 98 with
Mhm.
those teams. I can speak to it with 2015, but you have such a vast Broncos knowledge, man. How does like the vibe with this team compare to some of the other Super Bowl winning teams or Super Bowl caliber winning teams, our Broncos have had in the past?
Yeah. 97 was like the redemption tour because 96 we were like something like 14-2 or something crazy high, and then we lost in the first round to Jacksonville. And that
Mhm.
was the most devastating Broncos loss of my lifetime, of anybody at that point, because Elway was getting up there in years, and you had the run game, you had all this, you had such a successful season, and to go one and done like that was so tough. And that was kind of like proved that there's levels that you have to level up, right? Because we hadn't been in the playoffs the year before. Mike Shanahan had just come in the year before. But that team was really, really good. But when we lost that game, like John Elway was like about to cry. Like seriously, like there's reports of his family saying he cried after the game and they had never seen him cry before. Like that's how much it meant, you know? And I'm so excited to watch this John Elway documentary. But the next year, 97, there was, we didn't roll through teams. We lost a real heartbreaker in Kansas City, and we were like, okay, well, we're gonna have to do it on the road. And but it was the same type of thing. It was, there was a belief, and there was a, we're gonna figure out a way to win. And then when it got to the Super Bowl, we had lost 5 Super Bowls at that point, where people were like, or I guess it was like 4 Super Bowls at that point, but 3 already with Elway. And people were like, I almost don't want to go to the Super Bowl because I don't want to go there and then lose. It's so heartbreaking. And I was even like, I had never experienced a Super Bowl win, but it was that team that just was the underdog mentality of like, they disrespect us. We were 13.5-point underdogs. We were the smaller team. The AFC hadn't beaten the NFC forever. So it had a very similar feeling similar to this team as like, just nobody really believes, like, yes, you're good. Yes, you're good enough to maybe get there. Maybe you're good enough to be the best in the AFC, but you're not going to win. You're not going to be the best. You know what I mean? But it's like, all that matters is inside that locker room. And that's why I feel like we don't have a ceiling for this team, because when you look at the way that these guys play for each other and believe in each other, that's where you can go all the way. And I think 2015 had that. 98's team was so good that they almost didn't lose, that they were almost like, it was almost a relief to win the Super Bowl instead of joyous to win the Super Bowl, because there was so much pressure at that point. Can they repeat? Can they repeat? John Elway's last year, blah, 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 blah. So that had a different vibe to it. But it comes from belief in the team, and when we lost Dobbins, what did we do? We didn't sit back and cry and go, oh, what are we going to do now? He's been our best offensive player, blah, 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 blah. No, we just go, okay, RJ, let's see what you can do. We're going to have to figure that out. And now we have an injury coming up, with our safety, Brandon Jones. So it's another one of those where it's just like, okay, well, PJ, you started last year. It's time for you to come in and ball. And I thought he played really well yesterday. So like, it's going to take a collective team. You're never going to get through a whole season unscathed. So I just think this team has what it takes. Like, just the makeup of the team. And that's the way that they've drafted and the way that they've signed people.
Yes. Yeah. There's no division right now. And I feel like the Broncos are a great example of the sum of their parts is greater than, the individual,
Talent.
holes. Talent added up, right? Crushing it, man. Go subscribe to his show, saying these guys are selfless. They just want to win no matter how.
That's right.
And again, man, love Courtland Sutton. Love Courtland Sutton, the captain wide receiver that's not a diva, is a rare breed. It's a rare breed. I'm glad we have one of them in Courtland Sutton. Landon Lee, it feels so good to be the only 12-2 team. And Jeremy, I want to ask you about this.
Yes.
Because I feel like you'll have great knowledge and perspective on this. But going back to 2015 and D-Mac, when I had him on my Buff show like forever ago, we ended up talking about the Broncos, and he was saying how like Gary Kubiak, a hot take, but that's like his favorite Broncos coach of all time, or who he thinks is the best. And he really got it, like every single button that he felt like Gary Kubiak pushed that year in 2015 was like the right button to push. And he navigated some really hard things, obviously, in 2015 with that Manning injury really, really well. And just figuring out, hey, when to bench some of the guys on the offensive line, and how to divvy up the touches at running back. But now I'm starting to look at it. It's like Sean Payton has had a pretty good track record this year of seeming to, pushing the right buttons, especially like with the media narrative. I mean, I think he's always playing 4D chess. Like, he never says anything that's not calculated, right? So comes out, talks about how the team is a Super Bowl caliber winning team in training camp. We're losing games, at the beginning of the season. Obviously, that stuff with Bo Nix, with Colin Cowherd and Chase Daniel talking about, do they need to draft another quarterback if it's like this? I don't know. But I'm curious, like, what does Sean Payton do now to kind of keep this team on edge, now that when they look at the standings, they're on top? What do you do? And what did Mike Shanahan do like during these runs to kind of keep guys motivated?
Yeah, Shanahan, unfortunately, like sometimes would he'd have some seasons where all we had to do is win one of the last 3 games to make the playoffs, and we'd collapse like on certain seasons because Shanahan, I think the difference, in my opinion, is Shanahan had the perfect makeup of players and team to go along with the way he coached, just like Sean does right now.
Mhm.
That's why he was so successful turning around a team that was 4-12 into 14-2 into a Super Bowl winner 3 years later, right? But later on, he started swinging for big free agents that weren't panning out and maybe character issue guys and and then you didn't have the right makeup, and that's kind of where the downfall went. It was the general manager Mike Shanahan that let down the coach Mike Shanahan.
Travis Henry,
Yeah, just
guys like that.
Travis Henry played well, but he played well off the field too. Uh, but what Sean has done so brilliantly, and that was the thing with Kubiak, is Kubiak, I think he was just like so empathetic of a person that he took on too much, and his own heart couldn't take it. It felt like he would always have like too much stress, and I feel like Harbaugh can be like that too. Like
Yeah.
he's had issues the same way, but Sean understands it's like if I get the right type of guy at each of the places I need, I know how hard I can push, and how I know how to like pull the levers and flip the buttons on these guys, right? I don't need to worry about like somebody getting super pissed and doing what, you know what I mean? It's like that's the key to Sean Payton, is not only figuring out what he has, like, the car, he understands the car and he can drive that car perfectly. It's not a new thing where it's like, I don't know what this is going to do. He knows the team so well. That's why it's so successful. And his genius has been motivating guys, avoiding traps, coming up with games that we should have been down that we weren't. Like, he's done it all year. So you're right. This is the first test of where it's like, we're going to finally hear a lot of press clippings about how great we are, which we haven't heard that nationally. We've heard that maybe locally.
Mhm.
And that's going to be a new test for him. But we haven't done it yet, right? We haven't. What have we haven't accomplished it. Where we want to go is now not just winning a playoff game, not just getting to a Super Bowl. We want to win a Super Bowl. That's the goal. And there's no reason why any of these guys should feel like they can't do that. But none of them have done it. So therefore, that's how you motivate. It's like you haven't done it yet. And the way to do it. And I love the fact that PS2 in his press conference after the game yesterday goes, we still have a lot of work to do. We are not a finished product. And that's what's scary about this team. That's the mentality this team has to have. If they can have that mentality, they can go everywhere, anywhere they want to go.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel exactly the same as PS2 with that. We have not reached our peak when it comes to this team. And Jeremy, I just got to say, man, you're absolutely cooking tonight.
Okay.
And the patient coming in here with some praise for you as well, saying, I just want to say this is what Jeremy and I saw in Bo Nix since the draft. And I'll caveat that saying, Jeremy, you wanted him in Denver before the draft, too. That's why we
Absolutely.
have defended him nonstop. Um, and crushing it show coming up. This is an interesting question, man. Do you think this version of Peyton could have won a Super Bowl with Brian Greasy, or rather, do you think Sean Payton could have developed Brian Greasy, or was just Brian Greasy just, riding off the coattails of his daddy?
Brian Greasy was a good football player. He was not, he had limitations that almost, I don't know. That's a good question. I don't think so. And that's not any Brian Greasy slander, but there was, he had the ability to be some clutch somewhat. He
Mhm.
was very accurate, but he did not have any mobility, and he did not have a strong arm. So those two things really limit you. The thing that makes Bo have like the high, like it always just drove me nuts, and Patient can like back me up on this, is the low ceiling comments about Bo Nix, because he played in college for 5 seasons. Now all of a sudden that means he has a low ceiling, is insane. There's nothing this guy cannot do. And the fact that plays that were made yesterday against a really good defense, where he was extending plays with his feet, keeping his eyes downfield, and then finding and delivering passes to little Jordan Humphrey, and that little cheeky one to Troy Franklin, where it looks like he was going to run out of bounds and then threw it right past the guy's ear hole. And Troy Franklin picks up another 15 to 20 yards. those plays couldn't be made by Brian Greasy. And that's why, like, Bo Nix and this team, like, the sky is the limit for them because he can do anything as long as, like, he doesn't, like, let's be honest, Bo wasn't perfect yesterday. There was a few balls that could have been intercepted. They would have been great interceptions, but they could have been intercepted.
Yes.
And those things can turn tides, just like we saw for us when we intercepted. So you can't just go full on, like, whatever mode you want to, like heat check mode. I'm going to throw everything I want. There is a balance, but I feel like Bo has really figured out in that Raiders game. I know people didn't look at it that much because it was the Raiders, but like he is now stepping up in the pocket and delivering like just perfect shots, like finding people where before he was sprinting out too early or sprinting up in the pocket too hard or whatever. I feel like he's really seeing it well. Even McGlinchey said yesterday, like he's really seeing it well. So that's where, again, people go, oh, sure, against the Raiders. Oh, you did against the Commanders. Well, we just did it against Green Bay. Now we have another big test against the Jags. If we handle the Jags, because the Jags are playing really good football, Trevor Lawrence looks unbelievable. But like, if we do it one more week, I don't think that anybody should be able to, like, there should be no doubt. And the people that are still doubting are holding on to their preconceived notions, pre-draft, and all that kind of thing.
Well said, man. And yeah, when you go to the low ceiling stuff, I feel like what limits these quarterbacks from becoming what they are, it's never the physical stuff. It's always the processor. Like, how are you mentally handling being in the NFL, right?
Yeah.
And Bo Nix is as smart as they come, right? You see these quarterbacks that play well into their 30s, and it's because their brain hasn't aged. We seen that with Peyton Manning. Obviously, John Elway winning his Super Bowls here at the end of his career. Kirk Cousins, freaking Phillip Rivers coming back.
Yeah.
Those things happen because you're sharp up here, man. You understand how to read a defense and how to distribute the football. So, yeah, like, does Bo Nix run around like Lamar Jackson or, truck guys like Josh Allen? No. But honestly, man, we don't want him doing that. We don't want him doing that. It's some of these guys are going to have to learn to change the way in which they play to an extent. Obviously, Bo Nix, I mean, hopefully he's the quarterback here for a long time, but if he can continue to develop from the pocket, he's going to have a very long and successful career here because he already does such a great job of avoiding hits. And yeah, those things, again, Josh Allen, he can take all that punishment right now. That's fine. But it might catch up with him, later on into his 30s, still playing the way that he's playing. I mean, we thought Cam Newton was going to be a lot better than he was, or like for a longer period of time than what he was.
Yep.
And yeah, so we'll see what happens with Bo Nix. I wanted to ask you about this, Jeremy. Looking at some of the teams, the Broncos teams that like didn't get the job done, that we expected to or thought, could have done it. I'm looking at 2012 Broncos, 2013. I mean, you can kind of make for me, it's like, man, half that team was on IR getting to the Super Bowl. So it's like, it was kind of crazy that we got there, but the offense just carried. 2014, disappointing. 2005, I thought, we could have won it. I can't really speak to any teams, prior to that, but what do you think was the difference, in teams that got it done with the Broncos versus the teams that just came up short? Do you think that there was, or are you able to identify kind of any, common thread with that?
Yeah, like the 2000, like I think you've identified the biggest one for 2013 or whatever. When we got to the Super Bowl, we obviously had the greatest offense of all time. But like when you have 2 weeks to prepare for anybody, like that can mitigate a lot of those things. And then we were out without Vaughn, we were without Chris Harris, like
Clady.
Yeah, there was just so many injuries they had to deal with. And you have to be lucky as well. Like in that game yesterday, like we were mentally tougher than they were, which we've been the mentally tougher team this whole entire season. That's why we've won 11. It isn't because we're necessarily more talented or whatever. This team's more mentally tough, but you also have to be lucky and fortunate. We were lucky and fortunate yesterday that they dropped a couple that maybe they could have made amazing interceptions. And those kind of things happen. That 2013 Super Bowl, when we snapped it over the head of Peyton Manning on the first play, I could feel it. It was cold. We had to play it in New York. There was just so many things that were just like, this is just doesn't feel like it's going to be a good day for whatever reason. I don't know why those things happen, but they always say like you earn your lucky breaks, right? Like the harder you work, the luckier you are. And that's the way you have to approach these things. You can't just show up and expect it just to fall into your lap, right? Like there's so many things that happen. Like yesterday, there's a play I wanted to point out, and this is a perfect example. It was that one when we were still behind. I wrote it down. Bo bought a little bit of time, flipped it really quick to Evan Ingram on a 3rd and long, and he made a one-handed catch and then juked a couple people and then rolled over a guy and almost got the first down, but it created a 4th and half yard or whatever that we ended up, quarterback sneaking to get it. Then we go down and score and take the lead on that. But that should have not been that. That should have been like a 5-yard gain maybe, and then you're punting, right? So that's the types of mentality of like overcoming the little things, and people will forget about that play, but that's how you have to, that's how this team needs to like have the mentality going forward, is just like, just do a little extra, and you don't know where it's going to go, It's the mental toughness. And that's what I think really sets us apart from everybody else right now. And I'm not saying, we saw yesterday, look, Micah Parsons and Watson go down for them, and now they probably are feeling a million miles away from where they were a week ago after beating the Bears. So unfortunately, this league is cruel, and you have to just like put kind of the blinders on and just one at a time. You can't think about the Super Bowl right now. You have to play the Jags, right? That's what we have to do.
I want to get to some of these comments here. We got some great questions in here. Again, shout out to everybody in the vertical stream, and portrait, or landscape stream. Be sure to get in here, get your questions and comments in here. But Hussein coming in here saying, what about Troy Franklin? Let's talk a little bit about Troy, Jeremy. Do you think this was the best game of his young career?
Man, it sure felt like it. Like he was really big yesterday. He made a couple of really big catches coming back to the ball. Like I mentioned earlier, that one where Bo bought time down the sideline and kind of slipped to get open because he kind of knew Bo was going to still look for him. That's the kind of plays where it's just like, that's the chemistry and ability that he has. But the touchdown catch that he made was just like, he was expecting it, had to be there, had to change the angle of which he was jumping in the air, and then immediately didn't just stay up and take a hit. He caught it and then got down and crouched and went to the ground really quickly. He's learned from previous mistakes of like game situations that he needs to get better at. And that's where I was like the most proud of what he had done yesterday. Not only did he have good hands yesterday, but like it was the little nuances that has improved from where he was a year ago or earlier in the season to those little things that I was like, wow, Troy's playing well now. And, we said last week, like, is Pat Bryant got that brighter future than Troy Franklin, because Pat was coming on strong. Right. Well, Pat goes out for this game. Bandy comes in and Troy is now picks it up and takes it. So that's exactly what you want to see. So yeah, Troy had an unbelievable game.
Yeah, we got a really nice core of young, underrated weapons. Excuse me, with kind of, Court still being that savvy veteran on pace for another 1,000-yard season. So that's going to be awesome. But I'm so happy for Troy. Let's see him, continue to string together a couple, a few games like this to end the
Yep.
season. That'd be really nice, where he's not dropping anything and he's just money. He's just money catching these difficult passes. And I got to show this, Jeremy, too, before I totally forget. But I mean, the downfield passing. I mean, there might have been some other Bo Nix games in which, Cincinnati, I feel like was one where he had some fantastic downfield throws last year. But
Yeah.
maybe with like the quality of the defense, I mean, just the passing chart was so good with Bo. 23 of 34, 302, 4 touchdowns, and a 15.1% completion percentage over expected. I have no idea how legit that statistic even is. Like, how do you even determine what's to be expected? But just throwing touchdowns from all spots of the field. Hitting all parts of the field. And look at this is stuff that you pointed out during his time in Oregon. I mean, just how good he was over the middle of the field. Now we started to see a little bit more of that, which was awesome. You couldn't really put Bo Nix in a box here. He was hitting it from everywhere, and that's what was really important. I know you wanted to ask me about, what was my favorite touchdown throw.
That's right.
But I'm curious, what was your? Sorry, I'm stealing your question.
Oh, that's
let's
fine.
Get to it.
So yeah, surprisingly, I don't know if this is going to surprise people, but my favorite, what I loved about all 4 touchdowns, and that's the reason why I had this question, was because they were all very different, right? One was this perfect over the shoulder to court. One was that perfect timed, accurate one to Franklin that he goes up and makes that catch. The one to Bandy was one where he ran up, sucked the guy in because he was afraid of Bo's legs, hit Bandy. Bandy turns a corner and scores. But my favorite one was the little Jordan Humphrey touchdown, because it was just such a perfect, they sent Harvey out really quick, which just froze the defender on the left side. And it gave Lord Jordan just enough in that zone to sit down, and Bo just was waiting for it and just low and away and just a perfect strike. And that was one where the Packers, if you look at their body language, were completely we're helpless with that. There's nothing we could have done.
There were 3 defenders right there. Yeah.
I mean, it was the perfect placement, and Lil Jordan Humphrey had a great day as well. Welcome back, Lil Jordan Humphrey, to our team. But man, that throw right there was the one that I got the most excited about, because it was good luck defending that. There's nothing anybody could have done. And even if he drops that, it's not going to be in harm's way, right?
And speaking about Lil Jordan Humphrey, Jeremy, I think there's a key for Lil Jordan's success, and that is the number change. I wish Mark was on here to talk about it, because, hey, in what was it, 2023, when he was here, he was wearing number 17. We didn't have any issues with Lil Jordan here.
That's
but
true.
Last year wearing 84, you just got big shoes to fill when you're wearing that number. But hey, he's looked great, and he's performed great wearing 17 again. So let's keep Lil Jordan in 17 now moving forward. That's remember when he had that 50-yard touchdown catch with Jared Stidham, in 2023? Yeah, that's the kind of Lil Jordan we're getting right now, which is great to see. But I think my favorite throw, it had to have been the Troy Franklin one, man, because you talk about accuracy that Bo Nix showed, pinpointing that thing to Lil Jordan. He showed that same level of accuracy downfield, getting it in between. I think there were 3 defenders over there as well. So great adjustment by Troy to come down with it. But hey, shows it right here. What opposite hash? How about that? And throwing it 25 yards down the field. Can't remember what down that was on. Was that
second
on
and 15?
Dude, 2nd and 15.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was right after the McFlinchy.
McFlinchy, dude.
False start.
Imagine what Bo Nix's passing chart would look like with A.T. Perry in the game, man. Imagine that, but we're gonna have to wait. But nonetheless, man, Bo Nix, he was elite yesterday, and he is
Yes.
becoming elite. This is what the maturation process looks like.
Yes.
Now we'll start to see. Oops, wrong button. Now we'll start to see games like this, man. And if he's peaking at the right time, come playoff time, that could be absolutely massive. Any comments on that before I get to a few chats?
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, like, the great thing about Bo is that he has so many tools in the tool bag, right? He doesn't need to show them all every week. That's the one thing we all look at somebody like Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson with their legs and the way they run the ball, but like that's if you take that away, there's guys, even though they're big and strong, they're one play away from a problem, right? If you take that away and you're living dangerously, like I love Josh Allen. He's a great guy. He's a freaking awesome football player. But like, I would be nervous with that style. That style is not built for long term. Now he's, knock on wood, been healthy for his career and doing all that stuff. I hate to see that, but Bo doesn't need his legs to do it. He has it if he needs it, but it's not something he has to go to, or else we're not going to be successful. That was like the thing where people kept on saying like, "Oh, I want to see more designed runs for Bo." And there was even Tony Romo yesterday said, he said Bo needs to use his legs today if they're going to win the football game. No, he didn't. Not really. I mean, he did in the way of like scrambling around, but like actually running the ball, he didn't. And that's what's so great about him is like you can't defend every blade of grass, right? And in that Houston game, what was the play that won us the game? Bo didn't run that whole entire game. And then in that last drive, when we had to get the field goal range, that's when he took off and they weren't expecting it. So like and then the Bandy play, he looks like he might run and then he throws it to Bandy to touch. Like that's where he had to learn to not when and where, right? That's the whole thing with him. So that's what's so impressive is like none of those touchdowns yesterday was like just pure athleticism. It was like intelligence, understanding the situation, accuracy, everything that had to do with quarterbacking, but not just being an athlete. Yes. And I mean, when you're getting to that level and you're doing it against zone, man, all that stuff, you're like seeing the field that well. You understand pocket awareness. You understand like, I mean, Micah Parsons, some people are going to complain, oh, well, you guys won just because Micah Parsons went down. Well, he hadn't had a sack and he played 3 quarters, right? And it really sucks that happened, but it was Bo's shakiness that even made Parsons have to make that sharp
Clark
move,
was talking about that,
which is like unfortunate, in basketball, everybody would have been like, oh, he broke his ankle or whatever. But like, that was his little bit of like wiggle that kind of got him off balance. And unfortunately, it resulted in an injury, but that was what I was most impressed with. And yeah, how can you not be super excited?
When you play the position this way, you can replicate this, and more long term. And yeah, I really feel like when Peyton Manning came here, it really started to change my perspective on you don't need to be the best athlete in order to win in the NFL, but you do need to have a really, elite brain to do it.
Yeah.
And yeah,
I mean, Tom Brady, Drew Brees.
Drew Brees, yeah, all these guys, man. They can run or scramble a little bit when needed, but it's the brain,
Yep.
It's the brain that does it. Want to say hello to Mike Carmelini over at Mile High Monsters. Go subscribe to him. We should be doing this show again on Wednesday. Mile High Monsters, baby. So go subscribe to him. Thanks for tuning in. Albert coming in here with a question. Of course, Brandon Jones, we commented on this a little bit earlier. Going to be on IR. It sounds like he's not going to return this season, which sucks. Maybe like a torn pec. Do you see Jade playing a little bit more? Do you think that there's a chance we could sign Justin Simmons to the practice squad? What do you think about that?
Yeah, that was one of my other questions is like, does Sean Payton pick up the phone and call Justin Simmons? I will say no, but I'm not like on pro or against necessarily. I think I like Justin Simmons. He's a great football player. I just think you don't want to mess with chemistry and the leadership of this team right now. And that's the reason why. It has nothing to do with his ability, has nothing to do with any of that. But Justin Simmons is one of those people who's such a leader. And I felt like Sean specifically like moved on from him because he wanted a different voice. He wanted
Yeah.
a different vibe. And bringing him back in is more of like, if you told Justin ahead of time, like, hey, look, we're rolling right now. We love the way that this team is. We're tough nosed. We're hard, all this stuff. Just come in and play the position. Don't, but it's like some of these people know him. And it's just like, I don't know. It's just, I just don't think he will. But if he wasn't such a big leader, like that's unfortunately then working against him being
Yeah.
his personality.
Yeah, he was like the leader of like all these terrible teams.
Right.
Like, not necessarily his fault, man, but yeah, I mean, I would be pumped if they signed him, but
He's
the way
great.
you describe it, it it makes total sense on why it probably won't happen, man.
Yeah.
Now I'd like to see Jade play a little bit more safety, but that might be easier said than done. I can't really speak on the intricacies of lining up there as opposed to the slot where he's in most of the time. But I'd like to see him on the field more. And I think he's probably got a little bit more range than PJ Locke does, but Locke played great. He played
Yeah.
fantastic.
Do you remember when the injury occurred? I don't remember like it happening.
Yeah. I can't speak to the play, but all I remember is that the broadcast was saying that, yeah, he didn't return for this drive or whatever.
But do you remember like what part of the game it was?
Sometime in the second half. Yeah.
Okay. Because it felt like in my notes going through the game, like up until the PS2 interception, I felt like this defense had not been the same since the bye. I don't know what was going on.
Yeah.
They didn't come out like I understand the Commanders had a really good like plan for us, and Marcus Mariota like executed that plan really well. But like, come on, dude! Like we should have played better than that against the Commanders, and should have been able to adjust. The Raiders, like obviously, like you can't take much, but they did give up some like late stuff that you're just like, why are you like letting Pickett like shred us a little bit? And then this game, the way it started out, it was just like, I mean, thank goodness we held them to 2 field goals early because it took us a little bit to get going. But again, it felt like this defense was not the same. And then that PI happened. And then they scored on the next big long touchdown to Jacobs, freaking Jacobs, dude. They're like, hey, he might be out. And I'm like, we are not going to be that lucky. He won't. Somehow he'll be like 50% chance of playing, and then he'll play, and then he'll be unbelievable. And that's exactly what happened. Always happens with Jacobs against us. But if you looked at the crowd, they were like, even into the like, the PI happens, the Jacobs plays happens, the extra point happens, the commercial break happens, the kickoff happens. They're still chanting BS. The whole crowd was chanting B bullshit, the whole, and I was like, oh man, this is crazy. Then the offense goes out 3 and outs, and that's when PS2 made that play.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was like, we're back to being an elite defense again. And I don't know if it just needed to lock in. I don't know what happened. And I was just wondering how that like lined up with the Jones injury. But
yeah,
it was interesting that we were able to flip it finally, because we just felt like, I don't know, just weren't as intense as we had been or something.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
I don't know what it was.
I said yesterday on like a scale from like 1 to 10, I'm like at a 5 of like concern for the defense kind of moving forward. Like, it's moderate just because we kind of flailed last season and into the playoffs. We got, absolutely daddied by Buffalo. we got to stick it to Jacksonville this next week, man. I know since they acquired Jacoby Myers, they've been like unstoppable for some strange reason. But this is a team in which we should force Trevor Lawrence into some like serious mistakes, man. That's how I see it. I thought that an elite defense should make life a little bit harder for Jordan Love and the Packers, but dude, it was like his first read was freaking open every single time. Like he didn't need to stand back in the pocket very often, man, and hold on to that thing. I mean, he was just getting rid of it, man. I don't know if we need to be playing like more press, or seemed like a lot of that motion was really, giving us fits on the defensive side of the ball. But the one thing that gives me confidence is that we played so much better in the second half against their offense. I mean, I think.
Yes.
How many points we give up in the second half?
I think just that. I think
one
10.
touchdown? 10?
And a field goal. They cut it to 1 with the field goal.
Yeah, who cares? But
like 100 yards in the second
Yeah.
half, 110 yards, something.
Yeah. Also, guys, Mark is in Mexico. Kodiak had work, so that's why it's just us. I'm not going to say it's better, but I mean, we do have something good going on right now.
Mark is in the comments.
Yeah, Mark's in the comments. Let's see, 8 points. It was 8 points, dude. I can't even.
Well, they had the Jacobs touchdown in the second half. That was the first. That was like right after the PI. No, and then I don't know what the 8 points is. I mean, we won by 8 points, but then they kicked a field goal to cut it to, was it 24-23 or whatever it was?
Dude, all I know is that we should have signed Josh Jacobs in free agency a couple years ago, dude. Like that guy's absolute kryptonite. Ooh, imagine if we had him, man. But dude, that guy just lights us up every single time. Dude, that catch he had over Drake Greenlaw.
Oh, so mad.
Why does this happen to us, man? Why do these guys just make catches of their careers
I know.
on our guys, man? Like,
I was mad about the coverage at first, and then I went back and watched a couple times, and I'm like, that's just a really good catch. I can't really. I mean, he got his hand in there. Just good on him. I mean, he always plays good against us. Always. I don't know what it is.
I know. Oh, I did want to comment on this one because I feel like there's a lot of Broncos country that's probably, I think rightfully like with this, is Dakota saying like, let's not get too excited till we see how Sean Payton handles the playoffs. He's traditionally not a big game winner. And I think that there is, truth to this, obviously, with the games that the Saints lost in their playoffs. You talk about ref ball as well with that. The refs don't exactly like Sean Payton either. But what I will encourage you, Dakota, I'm not going to debate on that. Sean Payton does have a big one, but he's also lost, some big ones as well. But man, enjoy this year. Just enjoy the ride. Enjoy the fact that we can talk about the possibility of our Broncos winning the Super Bowl this year. Dude, we're so ahead of schedule. None of us thought that we'd realistically be at the top of the AFC right now, going into week, whatever it is, 16. Yeah, something like that. So, yeah, we'll worry about Sean Payton and all that, I guess, when we get to the playoffs now that we've clinched it. But, man, enjoy the ride. It's been way too long. It's been way too long since we've been at the top of the AFC, right, Jeremy?
Oh, man. I predicted before the season started 12-5, and I felt like I was being optimistic, and now we're 12-2. You know what I mean? So it's just like I didn't even see this level coming.
I think I had 13-4, and I felt like that was like was like, orange glasses, dude, but I feel like I might have even underestimated this team, and we'll see. But let's get to the big question, because I had a hot take, and I am so excited to debate this. I said yesterday on my post-game show with Mike and Zach, man, who cares about losing a game? You play to win the game. You play to win the game.
Mm-hmm.
Once the playoffs hit, it's the playoffs. But, Jeremy, and I think I would say from reading the comments over the last few weeks, I think most people side with you. But let's hear it, man. Why Why is it important for, the Broncos not to maybe wipe the floor with every opponent here left in the regular season?
Well, I'm taking my like advice from Aqib Talib, from Benny Fowler, from the guys that have been there before. And here's all I know is when we won the Super Bowl in, 97, we were not, you kind of need that edge. You need that like disbelief. You need that like fire to be like, they think we can't, we think we can, and that's it. Right. Even in 98, when we almost ran the table, like there was so much pressure going into every game. Can they keep winning? That was an undefeated season going into that, but like, you just felt like, we could finally it's like a palate cleanser. Just like, we're not God's gift. We do have to stay on our, we need to stay focused. Any team, any given Sunday, right? It feels like when you're on a streak, you don't get the bounces for whatever reason. Cause it's like people will just assume you've already gotten all these bounces, which I don't think we have, but like, I think we've overcome a lot being mentally tough and being down in so many of these games. But it's just like one of those things where the first thing that we said when they won yesterday, the first thing every commentator, it's 11 in a row. It's 12 in a row. They don't just go, "Oh, you beat the Packers, good game. This team's good." They go, can they make it 12? Can they make it 13? It becomes a thing. And it's like, you shouldn't be worried about the number that you've been winning. You should just be worried about winning that game and then going on to the next week. But becomes extra something like, it's like wearing a backpack with something on your back that's extra. You don't need it. You know what I mean? So like, that's the only thing about it. And now with the Pats losing, we don't need to win out. We can comfortably lose one and be fine with it. So I'm going off of them, and it just makes sense, right? Because it's like, it just keeps you focused to whatever is the task at hand,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think that's what it is, basically.
I think what you say, I mean, it's valid, dude. Absolutely valid. And I think the harder road could be, hey, just having this streak. But, history is meant to be broken. Records are meant to be broken. History is meant to be made. I think what the Chiefs had a 15-game winning streak when they won the Super Bowl a few years back. Commented in my Discord, ChatGPT misled me. They said the Patriots won, like 18 straight games or something like that, in 2003. But that was 15. They won 15. I think if the Broncos were to win out, I think it would go to 17 for what it's worth.
Yeah.
Now, for me, man, I might be superstitious, but hey, I just want to see him win every single week. But I do wonder, we go back and we talk about Sean Payton and the 4D chess. Do you think this is going to sound bad, but if we take care of business, right, maybe the next 2 weeks, do you think that that's an opportunity maybe against the Chargers in which Sean Payton, in a sense, like almost sabotages the game plan that week?
Yeah, no, I mean, I wonder, see, it doesn't matter what the former players think or what I think,
Yeah.
or you think. It has to matter with like, how does Sean's like the navigator of the team, right? He
Right.
understands like the ups and downs and the emotions and how to press buttons. So I think it's up to him how he wants it to go. But if he did that, I would be like, I totally understand why he did that. If he does it, it's purposeful. You know what I mean? If he feels like you don't need to do it, then that's fine too. I'm fine with not losing, but that's like, I just don't want us to get to the point where like, oh, well, we can just pick and choose every game that we can win or lose. It's not, I mean, it's the NFL still. Like, I don't want to be an entitled fan to go from where we've been the last 10 years to now being like, we decide when we lose. You know what I mean? It's like, that's a little entitled. But I will say, like, I could see it happening where he's just like, maybe we should rest some guys purposefully. But if you wait till the last week to do that, I could see it happening in the Chiefs game, honestly, because if you wait till the last week to just like, okay, Bo's not playing. Okay, all the starters, most of the starters aren't playing or whatever. You do that. Then you have the bye week. You might not be playing real football for 3 weeks. And I don't like that either. So
I don't like it either. I think you play guys last week.
yeah, so it's
I would
like
I would at least like to see him play the first half.
yeah, so with like
Everybody.
this Patrick Mahomes injury, if you're up at half, like by a healthy amount against the Chiefs on Christmas, like maybe that's when you sit some people and just let Stidham do his thing and maybe do that. And then in the last week, you do stuff. I don't know. I mean, it kind of depends on two things: where the Pats are, because you got to have that 1.5 game lead. You know, you don't want to lose this game against the Jags, and then now you have to win out the next two. If they keep winning. But they have to play the Ravens, so that's going to be interesting. And also, we still got the Chargers. We're still watching them. Like, we can't lose to the Jags and then have the last game be like, whoever wins the last game wins the division. You don't want that either. So, yeah, just I would say we don't need to worry about that right now. Just worry about the Jags and beat the Jags.
Yeah, let's beat the Jags. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. What does Sean Payton do now to give this team that extra edge? Because this week they're going to be getting a lot of praise. Yeah, we kind of just talked a little bit about this, Shy, but yeah, I think we could beat the Chiefs, man, with Mahomes being out, and who knows if Chris Jones even plays come Christmas. You know, if I'm them, man, I'm wrapping this thing up. Anybody who's hurt of significance, man, they're resting. Can't risk any more season enders that could go into next season. So that's how I see it.
And you don't want somebody doing some cheap shot on anybody because their season's over and they're mad that their reigns. You just don't know what's in people's minds sometimes. I'm not saying anybody would do that, but like you saw yesterday the way the game started before he started. The Packers thought they would be cute. Like, this is what happened. Okay, when we practiced the Packers before last season, they came in and we handled them in like the joint practices and we set the tone. And that was like the biggest sign of like, this is a new team, because we used to like get smoked on those joint practices we did with against the 49ers and all these other people. Right. So that was the first indication of like, okay, Sean Payton and Bo Nix era is like going to be different. Right. Well, yesterday, Packers decided to, I'm going to run right through the Broncos warming up for no reason. And Dre Greenlaw and all those boys were like, I don't know who you think you are. You're at our house. That's not going to happen. And Talanoa Hufanga and Greenlaw took that personally. I felt like they were thumping people yesterday, especially early. And so you just don't want people doing something silly for no reason in a meaningless game. So yeah, you got to be smart with it. And the one thing about real quick about, I was going to get your take on this, the Patrick Mahomes injury, not only is their season, it was basically over anyways, but like, because it's like an injury, that's a big injury. Do you think this like has ramifications on what Travis Kelce does, what Andy Reid might do? Like, if you're looking at possibly not just this year, but next year being like a really tough situation, do you think that carries a lot of weight?
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard for me to see Kelce returning. I mean, the Kansas City Chiefs cap is a mess next year. So of course they'll get cap compliant by the time free agency rolls around. But they got some bad contracts, dude. Like that, it's going to hurt them having like a loaded team that they've had for most of this. Because I mean, this was kind of the year that they were still kind of hoping to make that run to the Super Bowl, while Mahomes' cap hit was only like 20-something million this year. Balloons all the way up to over 70 next year because they pushed this stuff down down so much. So it's hard for me to see Travis Kelce returning. Hey, if he wants to come to Denver for one last hurrah, that would be fun. But
it would feel so weird.
I know. But he's kind of washed, but he's still like, better than our tight ends, I guess. But yeah, I don't know what Andy Reid does. It's hard for me to see Andy Reid leaving Mahomes when this happens. So, but yeah, I think Travis Kelce might be done, man. This guy's not talking to the media after any loss this year. Like, I think he's just done.
Yeah.
I think he's like mentally just over it, which I mean, he's had a great career. So, yeah,
He can give advice. He could be the muse for all these upcoming albums, I guess. That's what he
I
wants to
guess
do.
so. Yeah, yeah. Well, he's on to bigger and better things. His life is as a show boy, right?
I
Life as a
guess.
show boy.
Yeah.
Pro 16 coming up here. Is it possible to win a Super Bowl with just an average running game? Mark saying any concern over the rib injury. We did sign that guy Schrader to the 53, and I'm going to drop a video on him tomorrow because the more I read about him, dude, this guy's awesome. I can see why Sean Payton signed him. But yeah, I personally think yes. What do you think?
I don't remember the Patriots ever having an exceptional running game. Even the Chiefs, when they had, I mean, Pacheco's good, but I don't think it's like that was never like the emphasis of their offense. So definitely, I think you kind of have to pair it with what's the defense like. If our defense is playing super well, like even the Peyton Manning year, the 2015 year, I think I wouldn't say we had an exceptional running game. We had clutch running games, like CJ would come up big in certain spots, but like it wasn't like, oh, let's just feed CJ Anderson and just like get out of the way. That was not the thing. So yeah, absolutely you can. But I mean, you got to have like a good quarterback and a good defense to have an average running game. You can have a good running game and a good quarterback and have an okay defense as well. You have to have like two of the three, I think. But you can't have a bad defense, a bad running game, and just a good quarterback. And you can't have just a good running game, bad quarterback, bad defense. You know what I mean? So I think that's the formula.
Well said. I think we can do it. Donovan coming in here saying, do we offer Vance Joseph a big contract to stay in Denver? I would hope so, but maybe Jeremy, I don't know, depending on how the rest of this season goes, I might feel differently about Vance Joseph if for some reason our defense falls off a cliff this December again, but I'm not banking on that, I think we'll get it together.
I mean, I'm worried like Vance, I want all our guys to stay, Davis Webb's been awesome. Like pay whoever you need to pay if they've earned it, But if I'm Vance or Davis Webb, honestly, like you better have a good situation. Don't just take a job to take a job, because I think Vance found that out the first time with us. It's like he didn't have all the control he probably wanted. He probably wasn't exactly ready to be.
We were a terribly run organization at that time, right?
They wanted kind of a yes man a little bit, and you kind of got to pick your spot. You got to be smart about it. You might not get I mean, even Mike Shanahan only got one more chance with Washington, and then after that, he didn't get any more chances. So you have to be like specific, especially if you already had one chance. So Vance, I think if it's the right situation and everything's correct, then I don't think he would stay for money, but I think he loves Colorado. And I think if it comes down to like sweetening the pot, I definitely think we would for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I hope he sticks around. I'm a big fan of continuity. Guys being in the same defensive system or offensive system for years and years and years is just so beneficial towards building a program. So I'd like to keep him here. As pumped up as we are about Jim Leonard, he's still a mystery box, and it's no guarantee that he would end up being better than Vance Joseph either. So let's see here. I guess that's a going through a few more. Yeah, Justin Simmons injury. I haven't seen any update with that yet. Hopefully he's okay.
Mark had a question about the rib injury and bringing in Schrader. If that was a concern. I haven't heard, so I don't know what the extent is.
Yeah, as long as he's not on IR, I'm not that concerned. That's just how I feel about it. The show that Peter S. was
Peter
on
Schrager. Yeah, Peter Schrager on ESPN.
said Yeah, Bo caused Parsons' injury. Yeah, because Bo made him chase him all over the backfield. That was an interesting take, and yeah, it was him kind of stepping back up towards the center of the field that kind of caused that
Yeah.
a little bit.
I mean, yes, he did cause it technically, but like he didn't cause it as far as like
Yeah.
it was just unfortunate but he did make him have to like, I mean, Micah Parsons, when he's coming at you, it's full 1000%. And then to get a quick jolt left and then back right kind of thing, it unfortunately did cause it. But
Yeah. I guess, like, instead of Bo breaking ankles, he's just tearing up knees, right? With
unfortunately,
his
yeah.
moves, yeah.
And here's the thing too. It's like what I like about this team is like first thing when Bo threw that, which that play will be forgotten because of the
Oh,
Parsons
so
injury,
good.
but that was such a nice little get him hesitation move, flip it out to Mims on the run, and then Mims breaking 2 tackles and still getting the first down. It was just an unbelievable football play from everybody, and then you just hate to see that be the cause or be the, the result of it. But man,
Mhm.
that's where I felt like we're in like a flow state of just like he's seeing everything. He knows where his checkdowns are. He's leading people on checkdowns while like the best pass rusher in the game or one of them is like in his face. I mean, it was really well done the whole game.
Yes.
And that was just like, oh my gosh, he's balling right now.
Yes. And Donovan bringing this up too. Yeah, we also got Sincere McCormick on the practice squad.
It's true.
Dude was heating up at the right moment too. Does McCormick get activated down the stretch? I mean, I'd like to see what he could do. I mean, I don't. Maybe this is a hot take, Jeremy, but I feel like he might be better than Jaleel McLaughlin.
It comes down to it's not a matter of talent sometimes. It comes a matter of some
Right.
familiarity and knowing what to do on certain plays. Like the last thing you want to do is put Sincere McCormick out there, him missing a blitz pickup, and now Bo's getting blasted, and now you're in a big trouble because he got something. So that's what it comes down to when that kind of stuff. If you just want to bring him in and knowing it's a run play and just to see what he's got, sure. But like at this point in the season and the way that season has gone, you have to go with the ones that you trust. And people that have only been in the building for a week or two aren't going to be that.
Yeah. No. You're right about that. Trust is the biggest thing. And hey, I'm going to trust right now, Jeremy, as we wrap up as well, that Broncos are going to get. I'm going to trust that they're going to get this done, man. Over on Kalshi, again, use the code DTB for a nice little $10 bonus. But yeah, did throw $7 or so here on the Broncos to take care of Jacksonville and win by 3.5. So they got these different spreads. I don't know what the official Vegas spread is, but this is a game in which Denver should win. But this Jacksonville team, somehow they just win games, man.
Yes. Yeah.
And they're gritty, all that. Anyways, join me on Kalshi, code DTB for a $10 bonus once you deposit 10. That's what I'm going to be doing. Thanks to them for sponsoring the channel as well. But Jeremy, any last closing thoughts or anything as we look towards Jacksonville?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how they deal with national media hype because we haven't had that all year. That's the one thing that's going to change from last week to this week, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we're also going on the road. So that's another thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's why the first seed is so important because when you come into Denver in the cold, with the altitude, with our defense, with the crowd, that's tough. I don't care what generation of player you were. If anybody who's ever come into Denver was like, that's a hard place to win, right? Against the Broncos. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why in 2015, like I honestly felt like the Super Bowl might have been won in that New England snow game in the season because that's what gave us the tiebreaker to get the first seed, which gave us the AFC Championship at home. Because who knows what happens if we had to play that game in New England and then we go on to win the Super Bowl. So the number 1 seed is all that matters right now.
Yes.
It's going to be interesting to see. Like, I just don't want anybody to relax or feel like they've arrived because they're young and they haven't done anything yet, right?
No. We haven't won the AFC yet. We haven't locked up that number 1 seed yet.
Yeah. My one question I had for you that I hadn't got to, and I'm just interested in this, is it's basically the threat check. After Buffalo beat New England yesterday, are they now our biggest threat in the AFC, in your opinion?
I think so. Drake May has yet to have one career fourth quarter comeback, man. And maybe he needs, and that Patriots team need to go through a little bit more like what they went through of getting punched over and over again by Buffalo before they kind of developed that resiliency. We went through that a lot last year, as well as at the beginning of this season, to kind of become calloused enough to win those games, right? Yeah. Buffalo's playing real good football. And I know they're a fantastic team, but that's inexcusable, man, from New England to blow a 21-point lead at home. I don't care who you're playing, man. That is inexcusable. So, yes. And Josh Allen has torn us up. I feel like whenever we play him, outside of maybe that one game that we won in Buffalo in 2023. But he is coming here to Denver and absolutely obliterated us at different points. So that is, yeah, they're the team I'm most concerned about right now.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, they've been there. They have the most experience. And they're going to be, the one good thing about Buffalo is the pressure is all on Buffalo. Even if we're the number 1 seed and they have to come here, if that happens, everybody's going to pick Buffalo.
Yes.
Which I like.
Yeah, maybe that's what we need to keep that edge, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, Josh Allen, like Joe Burrow's not in it. Patrick Mahomes isn't in it. You have this runway to the Super Bowl that you have not had. And now you have to go through these 2 second-year quarterbacks to get there with Drake May and Bo Nix. You should do it, right? But Buffalo is Buffalo. They've never been able to get over that hump. And you add the pressure to that and put them on the road. I don't know. I still like us better. I think last year that playoff game just got away from us. I think, we missed a field goal that should have been tied 10-10 at half. And then who knows? But it's fine. It's just, that's the way it went. But I honestly feel like that's the one team that we maybe haven't beat and we've gone through yet that they need to see one more time. Like, they need to go through that. But if it comes down to us in Buffalo in the AFC Championship, I'm not going to complain about that.
Dude, that would be sick. And it's looking like, man, Steelers are in good position right now in the AFC North, which is just insane, dude, at 8-6. I would hope that
Steelers
somehow, dude.
They just always are there, man. It's like, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
I know. I don't know how they're doing it. Well, Jeremy, man, this was an awesome episode of Horsepower Hour. I'm glad we did this. Anything else going on before? I guess you'll do a post game again after the Jaguars game that people can keep a lookout for.
Yeah, we should be doing a post game, and hopefully it's just one more on the notch. I honestly feel like if we get past the Jaguars, then then the first seed should be ours. Like, we need basically 2 wins to lock it up, right? So 2 wins to win the AFC West, 2 wins to have the first seed. As long as we beat the Jags, and I'm hoping like for Christmas we just handle our business. But yeah, so that's the big one. Got one more big one, and
now on Thursday games, dude, I'm no longer thinking that it's gonna be easy, dude. We just suck on Thursday games, so that game might even be trickier than expected, even with Gardner Minshew at quarterback.
That's true. Yeah, I hate those games, but especially on the road too.
Yeah, we suck at Thursday games, man.
I mean, we won, but it was ugly.
Yeah, even last year, dude, that game in New Orleans.
They're always like that.
Yeah, we suck on Thursday night against the Colts. Yeah, but anyways, I want to give credit to everybody in the chat and the comments. Thank you for
Yes.
tuning in. Again, please go find us over on YouTube, David Talks Broncos, and Jeremy over at his channel. Links in the description, along with the Cowshy link. Go subscribe to him. That does a ton of help in helping grow the channel, support the channels. And yeah, we're here every Monday night at 8 p.m. Mountain Time with Horsepower Hour. Maybe then, our friends will decide to come back and join us next week. Cody,
Stop going on vacation.
But yeah, until next time, guys, and I'll drop some more videos tomorrow. We'll see you then. Go Broncos.
Go Broncos.